It is rifle season here in Missouri, and that Orange Army hit the woods last weekend. Now, if you were part of the Orange Army, I hope you had success. I hope you either killed a deer you were after, or maybe you just saw some deer. Having an empty sit on opening weekend is just bad. Having an empty sit on opening weekend is very demoralizing. I mean, you probably spent the last few weeks leading up to opening morning just envisioning all the deer that are going to be walking by your setup. Hopefully you're envisioning that giant buck you've been dreaming of walking by your setup and you get to pull the trigger. However, if you don't see anything and you succumb to the temptation to look on social media, which I'm sure that all of us do, it will look like that everybody in the world is tagging giant deer but you. And so job one for you, and this isn't included in any of the tips, is to stop thinking about what everybody else is doing. Don't worry about what deer they're shooting. They're in different situations. You need to start focusing on what you can do to start making your friends and your neighbors jealous of the deer you shot. And sometimes it's as simple as fixing a few mistakes. So in this video, we're going to go over 3 mistakes that you need to avoid in rifle season. And I know opening weekend's already passed in Missouri. I know there's some other rifle seasons that are still to come, but there's still plenty of time during rifle season. And I mean, this stuff even applies to alternative methods. As you get out there during muzzleloader season, this will help you tag a deer. But before we go over these mistakes that you need to avoid, do me a favor, and if this is your first time on my channel, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you click that bell icon so you can be notified every time I upload a video. I'm also going to go ahead and throw in the annual safety talk. It's like the birds and the bees. We just have to have the talk because every year it seems like we see the same accidents happening over and over again. Now, it should be common sense, but do not shoot at anything that you cannot identify. Do not shoot at movement. Do not shoot at sound. Do not shoot at anything that you cannot identify 1000% is a deer. So with that out of the way, let's get to the tips. And so the first mistake that you need to avoid this rifle season to give you a higher chance of filling a tag is you need to avoid relying too much on your food plots. Now, food plots are great, at least if they grew like they were supposed to and you didn't experience a bad drought. I'll cry about it later. But they are still great places for deer to, go through, get a snack. Bucks will use them to scent check for does, even if it didn't grow very well. But the problem is when you rely on that spot too much during rifle season. Like I said, relying on these food plots for your success during rifle season it's gonna leave you with a pretty bad season. During rifle season, the rut is going on and a lot of the action is gonna be happening in the woods, in the transition zones, in the bedding areas, not out in the middle of your food plots. Now that doesn't mean that you can't hunt your food plots during rifle season, but you should probably avoid those during the morning sits. Deer are likely up and feeding in those early morning hours when we're trying to access stands. So if you're hunting in the morning, you need to be thinking about what food sources they're coming from and what bedding areas they're headed to. If you're trying to hunt over your food plots in the mornings, you could end up bumping deer every time you go in there to hunt them. Like where we hunt, we've got cellular cameras over both of our food plots, and every morning we've got deer in there 5:45, 6, 6:30. It seems like every day. So if we're trying to hunt those, unless we've got bulletproof access, we're going to bump them out every single time. So if you really want to hunt your food plots, which you absolutely should hunt them sometimes, not all the time, but if you want to hunt your food plots, a better plan is to hunt over them in the evenings when deer are coming back from bedding back into these food plots. A good general rule of thumb is to hunt cover in the mornings and food in the evenings. Now, I know there are exceptions to every rule. I know I've had success in food plots in the morning, but you'll typically have a lot higher chance of success if you follow that general rule of thumb. Now, you can hunt your food plots in the mornings and have success, but like I said, you have to have great access. So if you do have good access, then great, you can hunt those anytime that the opportunity presents itself. But if you don't have good access, if you suspect you're going to be bumping deer, just skip it and hunt that spot in the evening. And the second mistake that you need to avoid to have success this rifle season is hunting in the same spots you did during bow season. Rifle season adds some unique opportunities that would be a lot harder during bow season. And one of the best ways to tag a deer during rifle season is to go where the deer are. And that's awfully hard to do if you're sitting in the same spots over and over and over again. I know a lot of people say that your chances of success go down with each set. So if you're hunting that spot 4, 5, 6, 7 times, you're having some diminishing returns. During rifle season, it is much easier to sneak into an area and hunt from the ground. And a lot of times, it's harder to get a tree stand in these spots because you get up higher and the cover is just too thick. There's a lot of mid-story trees and you can't exactly see through. But with a rifle, you can sit on the ground and it could be pretty much open underneath. Now, ground hunting is not something that you can only do during rifle season. A lot of people have great success hunting from the ground with their bow. However, it's a lot easier to be spotted when you're using your bow because you have that whole drawback motion. With a rifle, you can set up in a pretty well hidden spot, have your rifle up in the ready position, and then get set up for that shot with minimal movement. Now with a rifle, you can also take advantage of that distance it allows you. So if you've got areas that maybe it's harder to get into with a bow because you got to get that closer shot, or maybe the wind swirl's really bad. Like where I hunt, it's a lot of hilly terrain, and in some of these draws that are great habitat, we've got some bedding cuts in there that I would love to be able to hunt, but we can only hunt it with specific winds. Like we've had northwest winds a lot, and I can't hunt that way because down in that bottom, that wind swirls really bad and I'll just get busted every time. However, with a rifle, because you've got that extended range, I can sit on the other side, on that other ridge, and I can look over that draw and into that bedding cut. So I'm getting, for one, I'm getting a different wind direction, but I'm also getting more stable wind. So you need to be thinking about that kind of stuff, that kind of benefits you get with that longer range hunting with rifles. So look for the thickest cover you can find, put yourself on the downwind side of it, tuck yourself up next to a tree with some cover. Take your success into your own hands this rifle season and get to where the deer are. Now, just like we talked about before with the safety talk, be very aware that there could be other people around. There are people out there that do not think and will shoot at whatever could be a deer. So wear your orange and be very aware that there could be other people out there, especially if you're on public ground. And the third mistake that you need to avoid this rifle season is getting in too late and leaving too early. It's the rut, so anything can happen at any time. So you need to make sure that you're in the stand, or you're on the ground, or in your blind as long as you can possibly stand it. Get into your morning sets at least an hour before sunrise, and then try to stay till 10:30, and even then it might be too early. Try your best to stay until noon. At that point, you can get down from the stand, get something to eat, take a quick nap in your truck, and then get back out there for those evening sits. Bring anything with you think you might need. Extra clothes to stay warm, food to keep your energy up, especially food that's high in carbs and fats. Keeps your energy up, especially if it's cold. I like to bring Uncrustables because I'm a child, but they're also very easy to deal with. I go ahead and take the wrapper off because it's kind of loud, and I'll put them in a Tupperware container. Bring plenty of stuff to drink. Bring something to keep you occupied. Bring a book. Bring, obviously you've probably got your phone with you. Have something on there to occupy your mind. You can even bring something like a Nintendo Switch, just something to keep you in the stand longer. Now, you don't want to do anything that's going to keep you too zoned in on it. Don't be playing something that absorbs all of your attention, because you want to be able to look up from it every few, minutes, or maybe even every minute, take a quick glance around. Just keep yourself occupied, but not too absorbed. Whatever you need to do to stay in the stand longer, just do it. And you're probably going to have to go to the bathroom, so just go. Peeing out of your stand isn't going to scare anything away unless they're looking right at you. And also bring toilet paper, because there's no need for you to leave the woods with fewer socks and gloves than you came in with. So that was 3 rifle season mistakes that you need to avoid. If you've got any more mistakes that you'd like to share, make sure you leave those down in the comments below. Hit that like button if you like this video, share it if you found it helpful, and make sure that you are subscribed so you can stay informed.